What's up, everybody? It's your boy, the Italian Stallion. And I know we've been off for a couple of weeks. We've been living in a winter wonderland here in Knoxville, Marble City, Bearden, Oak Ridge, Alcoa, Maryville, all over. We have been dumped in snow for 2 weeks, ice, everything. Everybody was getting a little stir crazy, but we are back. We didn't have a show last week. We have one this week. Got a lot to talk about. Got a lot of things to discuss. Just even not even with the high school ranks, we can talk a little NFL. If you're on the chat, definitely chime in. We've got a really special guest, somebody that's very dear to my heart, my quarterback when I played ball for the West High Rebels. And basically speaking, we're going to get into that, but we want some live chat. We've got to give a shout out right off the bat to Shane McGee. If he's watching, he got a tune-up membership because of me. And obviously my girl Kim took care of me like she does every Wednesday before the show. Takes care of whatever little I have on top and also gets this all nice and done with the facial and all the good stuff. But shout out to Miss Kim Castle over at TuneUp. So definitely go pay her a visit at the Hardin Valley location or any of those locations they have. But without further ado, I want to bring in my co-host, the Mr. 2003 West High School. He is the voice of the Rebels, 18 years plus, if you count all the other stuff he always asked to do when he was at the school. He's Omar Epps' stand-in, we've discussed, and guess what? He just got an extension as Mike Tomlin's co-coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He is the one, the only, my brother from another mother, the one and only two-pair Tate, Brian Tate. Bring him on and give him some love, everybody.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
What is going on, my brother? It feels like I haven't seen you in weeks, but
It feels like it. It feels like it because of what's been going on for winter wise. It's been a change. Like far as games getting canceled, rescheduled. We still got high school football jobs open. I want to say four are still open. 4 or 5.
Yep. Yes.
4 or 5 high school jobs still open right now. But what I will say this, in the time of with not having high school sports, we will get into talking about UT, who's been looking pretty impressive on the hardwood. I think they've won 4 out of the last 5. Had a tough loss against Mississippi State, which they played well. They just it just Mississippi State hit the shots that they needed to hit, and that's a tough place to win in Starkville. But talking about the West High basketball team, West hasn't played since January 9th.
And today is what?
Today is the 24th. They were supposed to play against Bearden tonight. I want to say they beat Bearden 72-67 at Bearden.
Yep.
Let me make sure I don't want to be misquoted.
No, you're good, man. That's what this is all about. We do facts here. So.
Okay, we're right. So that was on December 15th. Then they go into Austin East, beat Austin East 95-64. I think that might be AE's worst loss this year.
Yes.
And I will say AE played a really tough week that week. They had beat Oak Ridge the Saturday. They played West on that Monday night at Austin East and took a beating. Like I think that's the best game West has played all year.
Has to. And that's what I think was frustrating of what we've seen with West falling apart in those third quarters of the Alcoa and Farragut games when that Austin East team beat Alcoa and then had a heck of a game, the game of the year against Fulton. I'm sorry I missed that one on Saturday. They kind of slid that one in there, Martin Luther King weekend, right before all the snow and everything dumped. So lucky for them that they got that game in. But my gosh, man, it has been no basketball for boys or girls of any team, at least on this side of the state or area, since,
Nice. Well, for West, it's been the ninth, but I want to say Fulton and Austin East played that Saturday.
So that would have been the 14th, if I'm no, sorry, 13th. That would have been the 13th,
That,
Saturday the 13th. Yes, yeah, and they canceled the games. I'm going to just share a story real quick. I
Mhm.
know that they called off school that Friday, the 12th, because there was a threat of winds and the bus and so forth like that. The winds didn't come to Pair until 8 o'clock that night. And then here's what the thing that I was a little upset with,
Mhm.
that they didn't have the games that night. I drive over to Hardin Valley and the parking lot's empty, and I look like a fool. I mean, I look like an absolute. I'm there, and I'm like, why are we not having a basketball game tonight? What does that have to do with school and so forth? Being out. I mean, you can still drive yourself, or your parents drive you, and everything like that. And so it was just so frustrating to me, especially knowing that we were going to be out the next, so many days. You could have had basketball that night and at least gotten one of these district games in. And that was the other thing. I don't know if that Austin East Fulton game was always supposed to be Saturday, if it was like that Friday night, and then they just moved it over.
Uh, Austin East and Fulton normally play a Saturday night. They do
Do
one
they?
night game a year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So they've been doing that since we were in school. Like
Wow.
I've always Fulton and Austin East always have a Saturday night game.
And that's good, because can I be fair? Not everybody gets off at 5 or 6 o'clock. I mean, me personally, there's some nights I'm working till 8 o'clock. I mean, you know what it is. So that's awesome that they do that on a Saturday to accommodate everybody to go to such a magical major game. And it seemed like it was between the two best backcourts in the area, in my opinion, between Shane Cherry and then the Kimber twins. I mean, and just it was just magic. If you watch that 5-minute video that Five Star Preps was kind enough to share, and usually you have to pay for that, but he had it out there for free. And I mean, that was like a movie. That was like watching like a 5-minute slow-mo, just the atmosphere to be a part of. And realistically, I don't think West plays Fulton this year. We didn't play them at the beginning, and that's kind of a shame, because even if you take a butt whooping, it's a good measuring barometer game of where
Yeah.
you stand. And that's why I liked the Alcoa matchup twice, the Austin East matchup twice, so that way you kind of know where you're going to be at and so forth. But two pair, can you discuss this reschedule? Because, you being the voice of the Rebels, have you ever seen this many games have to be rescheduled in all your time as the voice of the Rebels?
Mm-mm. It's normally like one or two games. You normally reschedule like one or two games to where you're playing on a Saturday or you're playing on a Thursday, but you don't want to have those games scheduled to when UT is playing
Yeah.
or as basketball, just because times that does happen, there's nobody going to be at that game and they're more glued to what's going on at the university. Just because we've had teams that are right now kind of the elite program right now,
Mhm.
top basketball, I mean, top five school. But when you look at it, I've never seen games getting rescheduled to this much magnitude in a long time. I want to say more than anything, it may be three games at the max getting rescheduled due to, let's say, when the flu issue was going on.
Yes.
That now that's happened before, or when you get just constant, um, you just get constant issues with weather. Like
Mhm.
sometimes the snow can affect a lot of these games to where they're getting canceled. And what we're seeing is a game like tonight that was supposed to happen when the weather is not that bad, but school was canceled. They're not going to play that game.
Yeah.
School's canceled.
That's true. That's true. I didn't even think about that. You mentioned the flu and so forth. Did the basketball season, I guess, get in all the way when COVID happened in 2020? Because I know that college basketball obviously didn't have the tournament, and then NBA had to wrap it up until they did the Disney World bubble thing that they did in
I
in
want to say like
September. So.
first year we didn't have a state champion. I don't think we had a state champion in
That
2020.
makes sense, because that's usually played that second week of March, and that's when
And
everything kind of started getting shut down.
I don't remember. Yeah, like the 2020 season is a lost season. and
Wow.
in a lot of aspects. I think that might have been that might be the one season we didn't crown a state champ. Well, we didn't even have an NCAA champion for the
We
first.
didn't. We didn't. No, no. Didn't
We
even really have conference tournament champions either, because like I remember Florida State got because they were the regular season champion and the one seed, they default became the ACC champion, and they were awarded the trophy there in New York when teams pulled out and had tested positive already COVID,
like the Dayton team that had Obi Toppin.
Yes.
They didn't get to go to the tournament. We
Nope.
didn't have SEC tournament. The SEC tournament got canceled in Nashville.
Yep.
Like we lost a lot off that 2020 season, and it kind of made you feel like we were gonna lose a lot with the snow, and
Mhm.
snow really affected to the point where West, like I'll say it again, West hasn't played since January the 9th.
Mhm.
That is that's a long time in high school basketball.
Yes. Yes.
That's like a real long time in high school basketball.
And they're not even been practicing, right? Two pair. I mean, here's the thing: if you're not getting shots, I mean, unless you had an indoor personal gym, the driveways are iced over. That's all I'm saying. Like, where did you get? Were you just in your room shooting with the hamper or something with some dirty clothes? I don't know. I mean,
I
so
don't know. That's what I've been wondering about because I don't ever remember a time when I was playing at West to where we were out that many days. I think like we may have had one rescheduled game during snow.
yeah,
In my lifetime, far as playing wise, then announcing wise, this is the worst. Like I've
yeah.
never been like this.
I remember my senior year, your junior year, that we got out of 2 days of school, and it was really more to do with sickness than it
Yeah,
was anything to do with the mild winter cold, but not enough precipitation on the ground to cancel games or reschedule things. I mean, we
we
went.
never had snow like that when we,
No, no.
you know, what I'm saying? Like class of 2002 to 2003. I probably say '04, '05 may have had some snow,
Mm-hmm.
but
Probably.
I don't remember. I don't remember that going on when I was in school to that effect because I mean it's even affected some of the UT game against Alabama. I don't think it was nobody in the building really. I
Well,
mean
they missed a good one. They missed a good one because I was working out, watching it, and so forth, and
I
that
saw
boy couldn't miss. So
you getting back in the lab. I started the push-ups. It's been killing me. I'm doing doing the 6 sets of 30 up until 324. So up until my birthday.
that's awesome.
So yeah, gotta stay in shape, man.
Well, I'll keep pushing you if you keep pushing me because I'm trying to get back in Stallion's shape. I was hitting the boxing bag and just doing my thing, and I got 10 push-ups in, so I was really proud of myself for that one.
There you go.
I mean, a couple of years ago when I was at the top shape of my life,
6 sets of 20. That's
yeah,
where.
I was doing like a 10, 9, 8, 7, like that
Oh
type
hell
of a
no.
set. So I mean, woof, yeah. So, but yeah, man, you got to stick with it, dude. That's amazing. I mean, it's just 40 is just a number. I mean, we can be hosses even then. Honestly. So that's my plan to be a hoss when I turn 40 in less than 2 months. So,
Hey,
but
I'm right with
but
you.
you wanted me to bring up the schedule. So we've got Farragut.
Yeah,
Ironically, the last team you finished with, January 9th. And I mean, them brothers, man, they lit us up from
man,
3 point
the
range.
Packers are like, but the X factor for that Farragut team is the Nero kid.
Yeah. He had
He
15. I think he had 15 points that game
oh man,
himself. Yeah, he was a
almost.
factor. Yeah.
Then the thing about Farragut has a very good bench of sophomores.
Yeah.
Their sophomore class, I'm gonna say this. It's maybe a hot take, but their sophomore class is they're gonna be a problem for a few years in on the west side of basketball in the city. Them dudes, they play defense, they can shoot, and they gotta. I like JP. JP is really he's taking what John has built for that Farragut group, and he's taking it to a level of consistency. They're just going to be a consistent group that plays defense. They're not like the old school Farragut teams of like Mark Curry, Kevin Yeager style. It's a balanced floor attack. They play really well together.
Yeah.
But the Van Ackers are just those two drive that car. Uh,
Yeah.
Van Acker and Aiden Van Acker. Aiden Van Acker is a hell of a shooter. Dominique is the one thing I was wondering about when West played Farragut is the fact that I didn't like their matchups. I didn't like the way I like Jack Keefe, but don't put Jack Keefe on Dominique Van Acker.
Mm-mm.
You know what I'm saying? Put him on Parker and Lane. You know, put him on one of those guards. Don't put Jack Keefe. He doesn't have that size advantage. And
No.
he was just raising up over him like Javin Carter did without.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what's been Wes's problem is the matchups, and they're not paced and spaced.
They're not. They're not. And the other thing too is one thing I'm going to be looking forward to this Friday. We kind of talked about it as an X factor. I don't know if it's going to be February, but we really do need Dane back as another size guy in there. And the other thing is that we've established that the inside post game needs to continue to be fed. I mean, until they prove they can stop you and the refs call fouls, even if they don't if they swallow the whistle, make them make a call. And that Farragut had no answer for that in that first quarter. They had none. And Devin Martin was killing them. He had 28 points that game, or
He
what have you. I mean, he could have had 40 if they kept feeding him,
he
honestly. So
uh, there's going to be times where I think Devin Martin is the best player on the floor.
yeah,
There's games where he's the best player on the floor, and I think Wes has got to realize, look, he's the guy. Him and Kevin Jack, we need to ride those guys. We need to. Those are the guys. We need to have an inside outside punch because our guard play is consistent with Reese Clark, with Jalen Hill. It's if he's dictating the game like we've been saying all year, West wins the game.
yes.
It starts with him, but um, Coach Gaporo is a phenomenal coach.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, the rotations, because we don't have Dane, that's been a big missing piece is with Dane because we're not even getting our shooters open. We're not getting Dupree open, who's one of the best shooters in the county. We've said it's countless, and you've seen it for
Yep.
your own eyes. Another guy, you got to find ways to get Garrett Birch the ball.
And he didn't even play that game. He wasn't even out there.
You got to find Garrett Birch the ball. Garrett Birch is one of those guys that's a rhythm shooter. And if he hits one or two, that affects how Joe plays. That affects how Jalen plays. And I think Reese being hurt has really hampered our backcourt because when Reese is healthy, he's one of the better players in the city.
Yep, I agree with that. And he ever since that third quarter of the Alcoa game, to be fair, and that's where we agreed it all fell apart. That's not the West team we saw at the end of last year.
No,
Yeah,
in fact, we're in 24 days in the new year and we still don't have a win is kind of alarming.
mm-hmm.
And I think I want to say Friday.
Mm-hmm.
This game is scheduled Friday.
Yep, it's at Farragut, so yep.
They've got Maryville at home. So these next two games are probably the biggest test because West right now, the rankings have been slightly updated. In Tennessee, they are the 44th best team in Tennessee. And the division of 4A, they're a top 20 school. They're 21. In
Mm-hmm.
the city of Knoxville, they are 11. That's not where they are. That's not
Yeah,
not
yeah,
the same. That ain't the same team.
yeah. No, they took a tumble because when you said these rankings 2 weeks ago, We were, top 5 in Knoxville. We
And
were top 15 not only in 4A, but we were also top 15 in the whole shebang. And
hey,
look where
hey,
we're at now. And that's not good. And again, you mentioned it, rotation. Not I've harped on this. Let's utilize those timeouts to kill those runs that these two
got
teams went on. I mean, you gotta stop momentum for a moment. And again, like you said, make sure you've got the right personnel guarding people. Put a hand in their face, someone athletic. No disrespect, but you've got a bunch of athleticism on that bench that could have gotten, and maybe even just a turd or a little bump you could get away with to just Van Acker's shot, just anything. That's
because
all I'm asking. So, and you got 4 home games next week too, Pair. Monday you got Maryville. Tuesday you got William Blunt. Friday you got Hardin Valley, and actually that was the original senior day, by the way. So they're still going to do the senior day festivities for that one. Saturday's going to be Bearden. That's going to be an interesting game. And so you've got 4 games literally in 6 days next week or what have you. It's a lot of basketball. And for our girls who don't really have much depth to think about, I mean, that's going to be taxing on them. I mean, it really is.
here's what I'll say though, Stallion. This is what I say. That time off, we are really gonna see what the girls improved on.
Yeah.
I talk to my woman about this a lot. It's tough to watch a team struggle, and we can point to the weaknesses, we can point to the strengths, but what is this team doing practice wise that leaves the games like this to where there's not we don't really have just like a ton of games to go on because it's been looking like we just been overmatched in a lot.
Mm-hmm.
We're just trying to be encouraging to look. It's the nitty gritty. We've had time off since the 9th of January.
Yep.
It's really all about, are we getting better or are we getting worse?
Yeah.
And that's just high school athletics.
Mm-hmm. And
And
have you mailed it in? Are you ready for the
are
season
y'all
to be
feeling
done?
like and the thing is we're trying to be encouraging,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I said, here's another Coach C quote. We get a Coach C quote
Gotta
once.
love Carruthers.
Gotta love Carruthers. And he said, you know, if it's this is a Carruthers quote and this is also a R.L. Bunny Oaks quote. Because I heard R.L. Bunny Oaks say this before. If it's to be, it's up to me. So that's the question I'm asking each girl on that team. Is
Mm-hmm.
to be, who is it up to? It's like, man, I don't be wanting to go to work sometimes, but I got to do it.
Yep.
I don't want to go to half these meetings, but I got to do it. Because if I don't do it, I'm progressing worse in life.
Mm-hmm. You're not being a rebel with a cause, brother. That's the thing. So you ain't. Well, and to harp off of that, man, you and me, we played football when the program was not where it's at now.
No,
Not even close.
no,
Um, but
no.
you know what the thing is?
We weren't,
Going
we weren't getting that though.
No, no, we weren't. No, we were. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And I
we're
guess
in those games.
it's hard for them to understand with their still young developing minds because you're a teenager. Your body's changing. Everything's it's horrible. And not to mention you got the social part of it, all of it. But if you're deep enough in your heart to know something, not all of us go play college ball. Not all of us go to the NBA or to any type of professional whatever. But once it's gone and that room goes silent, I love that quote in Rocky 3 when Apollo's talking to him and he says, "Listen to that rock. It's too quiet, and we ain't old. Like, but it all ends for all of us sometime.
Mm,
But you have that opportunity, ladies. You boys too have to redeem yourselves. This
yeah,
is it for you seniors. this is it. If you're blessed enough to get a scholarship and play somewhere small, great for you. But that's the time when you put that uniform on, and you don't want to take it off. And even the champion has to take it off when the game is over. But I'm just saying, you play and you leave it out on the court, not to sound cliche. That is the definition of a rebel with a cause.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. And that's why, like, when we've been doing this show, we kind of want to give like a perspective from student, players, athletes, like guys and girls that have been through what we've been through as human beings at this school. And like, we got a special guest tonight.
We do.
Really special guest tonight. First, I won't let you introduce him, but I got like a few tidbits about this guest.
Go for it. Go for it.
I thought I was a decent basketball player. I thought I was decent. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I've been told I'm good. I'm gonna say I'm a decent basketball player. I'm very decent. I know what I'm doing. I had never played Terry Maples in basketball until we went to the movies to see Romeo Must Die, and we did Stephen Bell. I'm trying to think. Was his name Stephen Bell? He was in he's in class of 02. We went over to his house, and of course I had baseball Booty Bryce on my team. But I will let you introduce this guy because like this dude is in my heart.
Like, well, I have a lot of love for this guy. He was my quarterback when I played. We're going to talk about that tonight a little bit, and might get a little uncomfortable if anybody ever watches this show. But guess what? That's what this show's all about, being real. But I want to introduce him. He was basically the Lance Harbor of West High School. He's known as Twig/T Mape. He was like, if West was a real TV show, he would have been Zach Morris and could have gone timeout, and everybody would have just been quiet and so forth, while he gave his cool, popular stuff to the camera to tell the audience what next scheme he was going to plan next or get out of a jam that he had put everybody in. But that being said, he is my quarterback. He is one of the dudes, an OG from 02. Class of 2002, no disrespect to the 03s, who I have mad love for. But I'm going to bring on the one and only better trash talker than me, even though I think I'm pretty decent myself, Terry Maples.
Hey, what's up, guys?
How's it go, brother?
It's good, man. How about y'all?
Doing good.
Glad to finally be able to, make it to the store and, all the good things and normal things in life.
Yeah. I mean,
dude, and you only dropped that Zach Morris thing because I was in the principal's office a lot.
No, actually, you know who I dropped that for? Because there was a clip that was running on Facebook last year, and Luke Chandler, shout out to Luke Chandler, he said Terry Maples was like our Zach Morris or whatever, that he could go timeout, and then it was that picture of you where it looked like, I mean, did you do modeling for Abercrombie or American Eagle? Because you had like this model look to you in this picture, and that's where the Zach Morris thing was like talked about underneath the comments. It was all
I worked there.
Yeah.
I worked there for a little bit, man, but no.
I did not.
That was about it.
Yeah. And you see, that's what this show's all about. Like, I didn't know that you guys played basketball. The Romeo Must Die. That was a great movie, by the way. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. But, I'm just.
This is true story.
Yeah.
True story.
Yes, it is.
Before we get into this true story, we got to ask you this, Terry.
Okay.
It's what we ask all former athletes to come on this show. You definitely one of you one of the dudes that in school I did not know that like you were really athletic like that. Like straight up. Like I knew you could play, but I didn't know you could like football and basketball. And then track.
And track.
It was 3 sports.
Mm-hmm.
So you did 3, you lettered in 3 sports. in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So the question I ask you, in basketball, who was the first person to bust your ass? And in football, what's the toughest hit you had to take?
Man, basketball. Basketball. You remember, man, freshman practice, having to get up early,
Mm-hmm.
and what the guys that had to come in and scrimmage with us from JV, they were already pissed. They had to get up, damn 6 o'clock in the morning practice, and man, there was one guy, and I mean, this dude right here, he was also a excellent West quarterback too. I know y'all remember a guy named Haywood.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I could tell, dude. He just had that look in his eye that morning that, man, he was pissed that he had to be there and he was going to destroy anybody. And of course, man, I get first up with him, and this dude slashes and stops on a dime, and man, just drains it. I'm over here trying to pick up my ankles, grab my socks real quick, get back down court. Man, as soon as I catch the ball, I'm not kidding, man. I give one little pump fake, dude. He rips me, takes it down. He talked trash to me the entire time. Man, he absolutely embarrassed me. And dude, it was awful. It was bad. It was bad. And football, man, it was not even close. In Neyland Stadium at the Jamboree, man. Do you all remember a guy named Sean Sanderson?
The Wolverine, man. He was a linebacker, went to Michigan. So,
dude, yeah. He started at Michigan as a true freshman at fullback.
Yeah.
Very good.
Man, they ran a draw play. I was playing safety, linebackers and D-line split. I'm like, man, this is Neyland Stadium. Jumbotron's up there. Here I come. Man, I give this dude everything I've got. And as he's coming up, I dive in. His knee comes up, catches me in the chest. The only reason he went down is because he tripped over me as he was stepping on top of me after he had run me over. Next thing you know, man, I start to get up and I look up on the Jumbotron and I hear all of Neyland Stadium go, ooh.
Oh, man.
And I remember this because I'm on the sidelines watching this all take place or what have you in that game. I remember it actually. So
John Sanders.
Oh my God, that was one of the things you will never forget, ever.
Yeah, and you know what was special about that time? There was a while there where the Jamboree games aren't at Neyland Stadium. They just recently brought that back. So
yeah.
That was so special to run out of the tunnel like we did with the West, type of. I mean, I don't think the band was there, but still, it felt like I could hear the music playing, like us coming through basically the same tunnel that the players come through, the Vols, when they run through the tee. And it's like, this is my opportunity to run through the tunnel at Neyland Stadium. And it's
man. And playing on that grass. I know y'all remember West High School's football field back then.
Oh,
before the artificial turf, yeah, when they have all the good stuff now.
But back then, oh man, our field was trash.
Horrible.
You get tackled at Neyland Stadium, it was like landing on a Serta mattress. You got tackled. I mean, in the football, the practice fields back then, we all know about that.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
there was very little grass, a lot of dirt and rocks, and
I mean, you'd skin your knees or your calves or your shins tackling, or God forbid it was like that crawgrass or whatever it is, and you had the itch all over you. It was horrible. I mean, it was like terrible stuff. Honestly.
Dude, if you weren't bleeding after a football practice back then, it's because you didn't try. You were standing on the sideline the whole time. And I mean, like, we'd come up off the field and it would look like we had just gone to war on just a regular practice, man, because that field was awful.
And what about all the grass stains on the practice uniform? I mean,
Lord.
Grass stains, they don't have that now with the art. Their uniforms are all nice and pris and everything like that. Those same uniforms, I swear we had to like wear them for games. I felt like the old Russell Athletic crap. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
So, yeah, because that was West's sponsor then, Russell Athletic. So, yeah.
Oh, dude, and those jerseys had to be used for, I think it was 7 years, and every time they would get through and they would actually, like, get through, they would hand them down to the super midgets.
Yes.
And then if there was anything of them left, they would hand them down to the midgets, and that's when they would finally retire them.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Terry, I have a question for you, and I'm going to piggyback off of Two Pairs because, obviously we played together. There was a lot of politics back then. And, what I'd like to know is, and remember, I was at Bearden that freshman year. You guys were at West, and we went up against each other. And then I went over to West after Bearden and so forth like that. But talk to me about that freshman football team because I wasn't a part of that dynamic. I only heard the stories after the fact. But you had TJ Blakely running the ball, and
No, wait. TJ was my fullback.
Yes,
I started out playing running back.
Did you? Okay.
And dude, I wasn't a great running back, but when I wasn't a great running back, but when you had a freshman who was, 6'3", 225, dude, all I had to do was stay behind him.
Mm-hmm.
So then when he got hurt, then I had to go to fullback. And man, I think I got like 3 or 4 carries the rest of the year.
So let me ask you this. So was Joe McGranigan quarterback? Is that who was quarterback at the time? And so
Eli Manning. Yes.
Yeah, Eli Manning. So yeah. And you see what happened was that game that TJ got hurt in the first time was AJ Johnson was ahead of me at linebacker. And you see, here's the thing. There's a respect thing there. They liked him better than me at linebacker because he looked the part. He was 6'2", about 200 pounds as a freshman. He looked the part. And the thing is here I am, 5'7" on a good day, 175 pounds, soaking wet type of a thing. And so anyway, he started in front of me, and basically he goes right for the guy's knee. I don't play football like that. I'm going to go right I'm going to throw myself out there, get stupid concussions like I did, and, shoulder into it, into the midsection, and I'm going to try to just do it Goldberg style. Okay, simple as that. But he went for his knee. He's down. And you all still ended up kicking our ass in that jamboree. West still won the jamboree despite TJ getting hurt and so forth in that game. And then that changed his trajectory to where he became the center. And then he had the horrific injury against Halls that ended his career. But the thing is that I was always curious what you played because, you were tall. It almost seemed like, and don't take this offensively, the coaches salivated over guys that were 6 feet and over and put them in the positions they wanted to. And anybody that was under 6 foot was considered quote unquote a vanilla midget or something of that nature. Wrestling has that for like the Eddie Guerreros and the Daniel Bryans and things like that. So, and that's okay. Not all of us can be tall, but I was just always curious about that freshman team, how you guys did. And I guess my question is, why so many of you all didn't come back the sophomore year? And be real, you have the floor because I wasn't there. I mean, here I show up for workouts thinking, oh, I remember number 35 from the Jamboree last year. I remember him. And then it's like, wait, they don't play football no more. And they weren't horrible players, but I think if people would have stuck with it, it's pretty pathetic when I go through our senior picture and there were only 11 of us in that group, I mean, and all the other classes outnumbered us tremendously. No wonder you go 2-8 when your senior class only has 11 guys. This last group that just won state for West, they were 22 solid guys on there and were with it for 4 years. A couple guys transferred in, but they played ball where they came from. Cummings' son and Britton Carver, who was just mentioned all state. But like I said, I know it's a loaded question, but I just want to hear the stories of why you think the freshman team didn't transition, because you all, and me then being added, could have really been a special, pillar to keep it going, so to speak.
Man, that freshman team, when we came out, there was 5 of us that came out in the summer. And that was before school started. So we were practicing with varsity, and they welcomed us by beating the living shit out of us. Like every day, man, they put it to us and, made us earn it. And, part of that too was the coaches that you had there, the structure that you had there, like things were the way they had been. And it was, there was a lot more tradition. So out of those 5 guys, you had me, Scott Rayleigh, Colin Carmichael, TJ Blakely, Joe McGranahan, and there's one other guy. And without a doubt, had things not happened the way they did, he would have been the greatest wide receiver in West High School history.
And I assume you're talking about Corey Young.
Oh, yeah, and Corey, too. My bad.
Yeah.
My bad, Corey.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and you can ask any of these guys. Ask them about a guy named Jamel Roberts. You remember Dougie Fresh, Doug Madison?
I do remember Doug Madison, actually.
Okay, that was his little cousin. As a freshman, he was 6'3", 180 pounds.
Look at that.
Joe McGranahan could throw the ball anywhere. It did not matter. Dude, Jamel would just go up and take it. This guy was Randy Moss as a freshman in high school. He was unbelievable. And, come the end of that freshman year, we had some injuries. We didn't have a lot of depth. And, we also had a lot of guys that had never played. They were like, well, it's high school. I'm going to go out here. I'm going to give it a go. And a lot of them, gave it all they had. And a lot of them, there's always going to be those guys that just want to get a jersey just so they look good in the hallways. Yeah. Just so it kind of lifts them up a little bit. But, that freshman year, man, it was tough. And we all learned a lot. And, we all bonded. And then, come the end of that year, we had a pretty good coaching change, and there was several of us that were in that weight room, after the change had happened, and a little incident that happened in the locker room, or happened in the weight room, actually. The coach that field's named after still to this day came in to try and, give a couple of pointers out to the new guy, and new guy just more or less told him, like, dude, this is my team. They brought me here for a reason. And several of us heard that. We felt that disrespect, man, because that man that field's named after, that's a West High legend.
Yes, it is.
And to disrespect him like that, we were like, dude, that's personal, man. That's family right there. Mm-hmm. So several of us just grabbed our stuff, racked our weights, and walked out. And I didn't even play my sophomore year because of it. Mm-hmm. Actually, that new coach had to come with his wife and buy their first ever Christmas tree for my family's Christmas tree light to try and recruit me back for junior year.
Wow, I didn't know that. Well, and let me just tell you this. So I've got a story to piggyback off of that one. The man that you were talking about, I did not have the pleasure of playing for. When I went over there, I thought I'd be playing for him. And a lot of people don't know this. I didn't play my sophomore year either. That's the thing, because basically that same man disrespected me when I was coming from Bearden. I had a great spring game for Bearden, by the way. I did. I had a couple sacks. We were scrimmaging Kingston, and Kingston was good back then. And they came to Bearden, and that was our spring game. And basically, I had a couple sacks. I was an undersized defensive end at that time. I'd made the move from linebacker to defensive end because I knew I wasn't going to play with Chris Ernst and Roy Nico and Wayne Hartman there at the time. And Bearden needed somebody to kind of seal off the edge, and I was decent at that and so forth on the defensive side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, I still had some speed. I could catch the ball, so they had me as a wide receiver. But I say all that when I went over to West, that meeting may have lasted 5-10 minutes with me and my dad and him. And basically that was it. And I said, okay, that's fine. I'll just sit from a side and watch. And the problem with that is that I'll still never forget my dad looking at me in the stands for that Bearden West game, that first game of that sophomore year that you and me didn't play. And I'm in the stands, and Dad looks at me and goes, I don't even know why that man didn't give you the time of the day. You'll have no problem getting playing time on this team. Because Bearden technically won the game on the field, but because they used Bill Butler, an ineligible player, on 3, count them boys, 1, 2, 3 special teams plays, they had to forfeit that game. So West in the record book won 16-14. They flipped the score or whatever. But as far as it was concerned, until our senior year, West hadn't beaten Bearden on the field since 1991. So a little bit of history there, if you guys didn't know that or not. And of course, me being the Bearden hater I am, and so forth, I played with all those guys growing up and everything like that. And yeah, the Bill Butler game always stands out to me. But that being said, there was entirely too much talent on that West team. And I really would have loved to have known how far that team would have gone with Jimbo and crew. You probably come back and play as a lot of those freshmen that may have sat it out if Wilson would have just given one more year, I mean, because my God, Jimbo Raley was hurt half the year and he almost had 100 tackles. People don't understand how good that freaking guy was, honestly, and I can get really fired up about that.
You
So,
see, y'all know the story of why that coaching change happened, when it
yeah,
did, why it did.
yes, because of the Germinator and they wanted him.
Yeah,
So, yep,
yeah, that landed
yep.
UT a really good recruit,
Mm-hmm.
and that guy was his mentor. Had showed him the ropes for the year that he was here in the States, and he said that wherever he went, he wanted them close by. What's the closest high school to UT?
Knoxville West.
So he got a job. UT got a stud defensive end, and man, we got screwed.
We did. No, we did.
We got screwed.
No, and realistically, the guy will say he never had the resources that Cummings got or what Lamar has now, and that's crap. And I'm going to tell you why.
Because the thing was, when Cummings got the job, I want to say he got people that didn't play for Rodgers. I wasn't going to play football for Tony Rodgers. I'd play for Coach Cummings.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Do you know how many people came out for that spring game? Terry, you and me were senioritis at that point. We didn't care. But for that spring practice, he had 80 guys out there. Now, they all didn't stick. They all didn't. But you were out there for spring ball, BT. I saw you. I saw you out there. I mean, and I announced that game. I announced that spring game. I asked him if I could announce it because the tradition was that seniors that were leaving could announce for the upcoming guys. Jason Day did our game, and I've got a clip. We're going to do a panel. I'm going to cheat a little bit ahead. We're going to do a panel when basketball season's over, just to kind of fill some time, because this is going to be a 52-week a year show. I mean, last week was an anomaly. You know what I mean? So it's but I would love to have a panel of different players like yourself. Obviously, Pair and me are going to be on it as well. But you talk about the best of the best football players that went through West, position by position. I'm talking the best teams. I mean, obviously, your state titles guys are going to be your best, but there were some really special teams that could have gone if Maryville wasn't in the way. I think of 06 and 07 off the top of my head, with Jake Ryan leading those teams, Pat Ryan's son. But I say all that with Cummings, he was personable. I don't think Rodgers ever knew. I think he was too young, too immature, and he'll never admit it probably. But realistically, I just feel that he was too young, too cocky. The way he talked to people rubbed him wrong. And the sad thing is, he's not like from the Northeast or any. I mean, he's from Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken. He coached down there in Tallahassee, came back up this way, but he doesn't have like that Southeast charm that Cummings or Lamar Brown have, that you can talk to. And I'm sorry to be like this, both sides of the aisle, if you get my drift, and to get the people to become one West, and to get people to buy into a program. Terry, you said it best, man. Do you know a lot of guys that I played with at Bearden? They'd never played football before. Sure, they played neighborhood football or something. They never donned CBFO like I did in Super. No, they didn't, Now, I'm just saying that you're right. Some people came out because their parents probably didn't let them play until high school, which stinks because they don't have fundamentals. They don't know how to tackle properly. They don't know X's and O's. And then on top of that, you've got guys, like you said, that want to look good in the school or whatever and get a girlfriend or whatever like that. Good for you. But at the end of the day, Cummings and Lamar, these type coaches knew the infrastructure has to start in the youth when you are ready to, if you can take a hit. Not everybody, there's little kids, there's bigger kids and so forth like that. But realistically, it starts down low. And you had the privilege of coaching a lot of those state title guys last year, like the Lathams and everything. And I do want to get into that in a minute. But can you at least kind of talk about why you don't think you got a fair shot at quarterback? You talk about that story about the Christmas tree lot and you being brought back. But I remember it was you, it was Alan Wallace, and it was Nick Weisfeld going for the quarterback position because Alton Thompson basically gave the finger to Tony Rogers and said he was only going to focus on basketball. So talk to me about what happened there, because I was in the linebacker room. I was not a quarterback. So you'll have to fill in what the offensive side of the ball was doing on that front.
And the offensive side of the ball was, trying to fill holes because, there were certain holes that were already filled. With Rogers, man, you had the guys that were his guys. And if you weren't one of his guys, then, if there's any holes, we'll find a place for you. And, a lot of guys were like, man, I'm out. I'm not waiting around for this. I know I'm better than this. Some people actually had pride in the fact that, they loved where they went. They loved West High School. They loved the guys that they played with. And they thought, hard work would pay off. And, y'all remember, we had a pretty stud running back then. Y'all remember his name?
Tommy Winton.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
Son played for Catholic. Son was all-state Catholic with his namesake just a couple years ago. Tommy Winton Jr. Yeah, I know
that guy. And I heard his little brother was fast too, man. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that guy the fastest? His little brother was the fastest 12-year-old in the country. Chris, yeah, dude.
Chris Winton, yeah.
So I mean, we were trying to fill in an offense that you remember Spring Jamboree.
Oh yeah.
Remember the Spring Jamboree? We had Maryville, we had Jefferson County.
It was Jefferson County and Morristown West. Morristown West was there.
Was it Morristown West?
Morristown West, because I got in on a tackle and almost recovered a fumble against Morristown West. But I remember, they were there too, and it was we hosted it. It was like teams played a quarter and then changed out. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. There were a lot of people there that day. I remember.
And you remember our record in that, right?
Yeah, we lost both games, didn't we? I think.
No.
We
we tied. If it was Morristown West, I thought it was Loudon. We beat Jefferson County. I actually caught a touchdown and was on the news for that. I actually got a good pass. It was crazy.
Yeah, we beat Jefferson. You're right. We lost to Mo West, though. I know we lost to Mo West because they were pretty powerful back then. So.
But do you remember who else was there? Maryville. And we tied those dudes. Now, granted, it's only a quarter. But we tied them. And then, of course, summer happens, guys start to fade off. And, not all of them were fading off because it's like, they didn't want to go to practice. They didn't want to learn the plays. There was a lot of them that were out there busting their ass, and they got tired of busting their ass just to stand over on the sideline on Fridays and watch guys that, didn't have it. They didn't have it. They didn't have it, but their parents had it. You know what I mean? And that's the truth.
It's the truth. No, it
really is the truth.
Facts. I mean, I came from
but that's how far West has come now. Like,
oh
yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Like now, players want to come to West, talented players, because they know they're going to get seen. They know they've got coaches there, they've got facilities there. Like, man. Y'all remember our locker room. I can't believe they still send visiting teams into that thing.
And you want to know the sad thing? As of late, to be honest with you, the visiting teams walk to the baseball field because that whole concourse is different now. So they go hang on the away side out in the elements. They don't even want that dang locker room, honestly.
Dude, the girls' soccer team didn't want the other side of it back then because our side stunk so bad that it flowed over to their place.
Yes.
Locker room.
Horrible. Like, and I mean, the practice field and everything back then and now, like, coaching there. Coach Brown, he liked to set in plays for us, you know, for the 8th graders. So that way when they come in, they've got an idea of everything. And he was awesome enough to open up the practice facility, the indoor facility,
Yeah.
for us and our team to go in here, warm up, run through some plays and everything. And, you know, things like that sell. You have that right there to offer, you know, kids that come in and they go, man, you know, you see state championship banners on the wall. You see top-notch facilities. I mean, that draws you in.
What about
Back then, we didn't have anything to offer, and we damn sure didn't have any championship banners.
No, we didn't have championship banners. But how about this? You had some special players, and they were highlighted on the walls as you walked in there. Like you see Nathan Cottrell. I mean, but even before then, you saw Jake Ryan. You saw guys that have records at West. And do you want to know something that's really sad? I have the programs of those years. And do you know that there's an asterisk at the bottom of that? And you know what that asterisk says too, Pair and Terry? I'm being honest with you. It says official records were not kept before 2003 stats wise. How does that make you and me feel that none of our stats were ever kept? Nothing. But because when Cummings took over in 03, that is when stats were officially taken. They have a couple of things from that 94 team that was so special that lost to Eric Westmoreland and Marion County that got the furthest until we finally got over the hump with the Cottrell teams, and your little brother was on that team. But I'm just saying that realistically, they had some stats for Turbo Patey, but they were unofficial. The fact that I'm probably one of the only people that remembers Jimbo Raley had 100 tackles and barely played 6 games that entire year, 4 games, thank you. So I'm just saying that, you know what I mean? Like it's asinine. And yes, and here's the thing. Anybody shouldn't just sit there and say, well, when I was here, we didn't have. No, somebody went out there and made it happen and outreached, brought a community together to become one West. Do you know how it makes me be, guys? And I have tears in my eyes when I'm driving down Sutherland Avenue and all those marquees are lit up. Good luck at State, boys, And the fact that I have a supporting staff role on this, whether I do stats or whatever, Coach Brown has always made me feel as one. And he called me up and said, you earned yourself one of these. Go get it. And I'm about to get the other one sized over here so I can wear both of them. But I'm just saying, man, and I'm hard like that. I don't.
Dude, y'all remember back in the day, we would have more fans in the visiting seats than on our own.
Yes.
You wouldn't get 100 students in the student section.
No. All I remember is that one guy, and maybe you all remember his name, that was dressed up like as the unofficial mascot.
Wink Ryder?
Is that him? Yes. And he had the flag, the old W flag, and he would run up and down.
He had the cape?
The cape.
Brother did it first, though.
Yes. Absolutely. I can't remember his brother's name, but yes.
Yes. But so I'm glad you guys remembered that name. I didn't remember, but I remember what he looked like. And he had the little W, the old red W on his chest or something like that.
The old Wisconsin W's. That was what W
that we used to have. Yeah. And so literally though.
Face.
Yeah.
David Beeman, I always used to have
David Beeman, yeah.
David Beeman.
We had some hardcore friends that would show up to support us. But our girlfriends would be in the stands or on the track cheering us on, but they'd leave at halftime, dude, and they'd catch up with us at Steak and Shake or whatever after the game. I mean, that was how it was, and that was when Steak and Shake was right across the street from West Town Mall. It wasn't all the way down in Turkey Creek for all the people. Those are facts. So.
That just goes to show you, man, winning's infectious. People want to be a part of that. When you go out and, you're busting your ass on a team, you don't get the playing time you feel like you've earned. Mm-hmm. Some people think they deserve it. Some people know they've earned it. And, you continue to sit here and you watch a season just continue to drop and get worse and get worse. Man, the whole team, y'all know how it is, man. You feel that. Your team has an energy. Some of the best times you ever had were at practice.
Yep.
And, you get into the locker room after practice, you have great practices, you'd have bad practices, but it was when you started to walk into that locker room, there was never a day in my life, and there never will be, that I don't love football with everything inside me. But to walk into that locker room sometimes, man, I just wanted to turn around and walk off. I didn't want to walk in there. It wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable, and it was just waiting on, what's going to happen next.
Yeah. Pair, I'm going to tell you this, man. What he's saying, that's why him and me are on the same page. I felt the same way. I dreaded going, and that should be like the most fun times. You're with your brothers, you know what I mean? Like, you're not in the damn classroom anymore, like you're dreading to hear what insult you're going to get this time from this man. Or how about this even better? I can't even tell you, and I'm not going to be that snitch, but how many people threw their helmet and quit and had to be talked back into fighting, just like Achilles and Troy or whatever like that. Like, it really was like that, man. It really was. And it's like, it wasn't even him that did it. One of the assistants like Gary or Coach Mays, somebody else had to talk to you to bring you back in.
One of the real coaches.
Yes.
Real coaches.
And then there was another guy, the James Gandolfini wannabe he brought with him that didn't even last that long, that was supposed to be some offensive genius. I never saw it. But anyway, I remember.
He was an offensive genius who was always asking Cummings, do you think this will work?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I drew this up last night. What do you think?
What do you think? Yeah. Oh, I saw Bob Davie and Notre Dame run it because I'm a big Fighting Irish fan. That's how it was. And the kids that, if they watch this, who play football or who have played in the last 4 or 5 years or whatever, you don't know how good you guys got it. Respect that you have made this something amazing. But I would love to play that what if thing that the Marvel Universe likes to do, that little show on Disney Plus or whatever. You put all of us in your situation, I think we win a couple of gold balls. I think we do. I'm just saying.
The difference is, though, like what Terry was saying, like you just had guys walking around school that were really great athletes that West didn't even know. Like, you would look at some dudes in wellness and you're like, why is he not on the football team?
Yeah.
At track, you say, why is he not on the football team?
Mm-hmm.
And there are so many just underrated guys that people don't even remember that would just walk the halls and were like, you didn't play football for West, or you? Because it was really political like that. Back then.
Oh yeah, very. Do you remember a guy? Okay, this is probably the best basketball player I ever played against at West. And I remember he came out for tryouts one day and absolutely was just killing it. And then just didn't come back. Remember Boss, LaMarcus Anderson?
Marcus Anderson.
Why does that name sound familiar to me? Where did he go? Did he stay at West?
He went to West.
But he stayed there? Like, he didn't go somewhere else? Because we asked a question a couple of weeks ago. Terry, whatever happened to Michaela Merchant, Michael Merchant's little sister, who was like the whole women's basketball team? They sent her to the Prairie, and you never saw her again. She was the only hope of why the girls won. She averaged like 30 points, it felt like, that freshman year or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sakar. I'm sorry. Yeah, Sakar. But yeah, I was just like, what come on, like, where did these people go? They didn't stay on the team or what? So
you get tired of it, I mean, you got guys, like I said, that were coaches' picks. That was the guys that they liked. That was their guys. And if you weren't one of those guys, then we'll see if we can find a spot for you. We'll see what we got left over. After we fill everything we've got. You're really good at doing this, but could you try to do this instead? Like, play a position you've never played. We've got this whole idea worked out for you. I heard that guy that you were talking about, Coach Boggs. Yeah. Dude, I heard him come up to a guy that we played with, and this dude was seriously athletic, a freak. And they, some guys you just can't find a spot for, but you can put him somewhere and give him enough reps, and he picks it up real quick. So they haven't decided, man. They've got 5 plays drawn up for this guy, and they're just going to absolutely be great. Without a doubt, the worst design plays ever. They ran this guy into 3 kill shots in a row. Bro, he didn't even want to know play number 4 and number 5. He was like, man, this bullshit, dude.
Yeah.
I'll go back to playing defensive end.
Yeah. And I remember a play they drew up where I think they had you at tight end and they put me at right guard or something like that. And I remember I had to pull and you were right behind me. And because whoever was at left tackle got pushed back, I literally trip over him. You trip over me. And it's what was the purpose of that? If anything, you being a tight end should be going out for a pass. I mean, what are we doing here?
Well, they knew we didn't have a quarterback. You know, they knew that the quarterback we had in couldn't do shit. You know, I mean, he might be able to get you a 5 or a 6 yard pass on target, but after that, man, good luck, because he don't know where the hell it's going to land. And so, you know, we had to run the ball a lot. And that's when they decided they were going to pull in that wing tee. We were going to run all these sweeps. We were going to hit all these inside dives. Man, it took a team, any team we played, it took them, I don't know, maybe the first quarter to know every damn thing we were going to do and everything we went to. And I mean, dude, do you remember we were playing, I'm pretty sure it was Carnes. And I mean, you know, Carnes, man, back then, if you're not beating Carnes, then you just need to go back home.
That's right. It's
just turn your jersey in, because Carnes was a joke back then in football. We had to run the special play. Y'all remember the kicker, man?
Oh, Michael Smith. Yeah, he would be on the sidelines. It was still legal. I know what play you're talking about, baby.
He acted like he was talking to the coach. He was literally right on the boundary line. And the next thing you know, as soon as they said down, he took one step back and then just turned. This guy was wide open. There was nobody within 25 yards of this dude. And that ball sails over him and hits the fence on our sideline.
It was against Bearden, too.
We had to pull drastic shit like that to beat Carnes sometimes. Because we had no playbook, and it took a team 1 quarter to know what we were going to do. And they're like, okay, all right, that guy's there. I already know what it is.
I'm going to tell you this. We ran the same play. The first play of the game against Bearden, Chris Ernst. It was the 50th anniversary game at West, okay? We ran the same play.
That guy was a beast.
Chris Ernst was a beast. Both ways, 100 tackles, over 1,000 yards rushing. So here's the deal. Torque Turner was the safety for Bearden. I went against him, played middle school ball against him. Chris Steele also played against him. CBFO was the cornerback. They didn't realize Michael Smith was there, okay? And so literally all Terry could have made that pass. 2 Pair, you could have made that pass. I could have made that pass, and I'm not even a quarterback. But literally, the line gave him enough time. And literally, all he had to do was throw it. Michael Smith walks into the end zone. The game is 7-0 West already, as opposed to what ended up happening. We went 3 and out. Shea Ramsey comes in at punter because Channing McDonald Holt in practice, so we had to scrounge and find a kicker. And Rogers thought, oh, Shea Ramsey, his dad played for the Jets or whatever. He can be a punter. Gets the ball. Chris Ernst blocks it. They pick it up and run it into the end zone. So that was a 14-point swing in the biggest game that was probably the most crowded game. I mean, there was a fight like in the cars and stuff like that both teams met. There was such an electric atmosphere. And the most we could muster was 11 points, and we lost 30-11 and had to watch those guys like jumping down, up and down on our emblem. I still remember William Ergen crying, and I had to console him, because he lost to Chris Ernst and these guys that he had gone up against and really thought we could win that game. We watched Braveheart before that game, and our coaches just completely let us down, guys. Just completely let us down in that game.
That was a problem, man. You know, you had guys that were great in some spots. Like one guy that we mentioned earlier, and I can't believe I forgot this guy when I was talking about the original freshman that came out in the summer, Corey Young. Man, that dude could fly.
You could.
That dude could catch. And instead, we had 5'8", 5'7",
I told you.
wide receivers out here. Like,
I knew he'd bring it up, and I'm glad
dude,
he
we
did.
had guys,
Yeah.
and we had guys that could play. But
Yeah.
if you weren't one of his guys, then you were going to play something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, you were going to play something else. And you know that's not winning football.
It's not.
And you know, it takes a team. Hell, you can go to football camp and figure out what a coaching staff and a team's all about. And I mean, how many guys I know of that when we were at football camp, you know, they had been giving it their all in the damn spring. They were out there for summer workouts. They were out running routes.
Yep.
And the next thing you know, man, you go to summer camp and halfway into camp, you know, you don't want to see these guys walk off.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they're going up front, calling mom, going, "Hey, man, come down here to Lipscomb College and pick me up. I'm done."
Yep. And it happened. It happened.
Guys that, you know, we could have during the season.
Our LMU. I remember we had our football.
Oh, man. LMU was nice, man. Lipscomb was awful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lipscomb's dorm rooms were like jail cells.
Yeah.
Wow.
They even had bars on the windows because they didn't want you to escape.
We don't even want to discuss who I got stuck rooming with. I really feel that I was singled out for something that I must have done or something to him that who he put me with was incredible. I couldn't believe it, but
I hope he smelt better than the one I got stuck with senior year.
yeah, probably. So, well, you know, I'm going to pose a question to both of you guys because you know this is something that the kids now need to appreciate. You know, that play football and things are great now, but back then it was tough. Why in the world? We can agree on this. This school has always had athletes. We will all be on the same page with that. But my question to both of you, and Terry, you brought it up, and I'm so glad you did. Why are we running the wing tee with the athletes we had? That's a move, in my opinion, that you don't have enough guys to come out, and you're trying to ball control and win games on a prayer. You know what I mean? Type of a thing. You have athletes. You need to extend the field. Be Florida State or Miami or whoever was great at that time, and you're doing this 3 yards in a cloud of dust thing. And you have athletes, and you're not putting people in the right position. I don't know how you look at yourself in the mirror like that. But you all have the floor. Go. So,
BT, you want this one first?
I just don't know, man. Like it just was. I think when you look at some guys that were in school when I weren't playing quarterback, like you saw what Wes was able to do, and I think we kind of were the foundation of that. Like when you saw what Justin was able to do, like when he got the chance and opportunity with the right coaching staff, like what Larry Williford was for those teams, Abdul Henderson, Hootie, like teams, like those are the best of those classes that were playing. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing. Like all the guys from 03 weren't playing like that. Like if all of 03 and 02 played, a whole different. You're looking at a whole different West. Like we would have been what those teams were. If all the guys were playing. It's just like it's so political and running stuff like the wing tee. And I'm not about to do that because like and basketball was political too, to a certain degree. And
you want to know something else too? And Terry, I want you to talk next, but I want to ask you all this. Could you just imagine how hard it was for Scott Rayleigh? You know, like I loved that guy. I haven't talked to him in years. I haven't, but you know, he still put everything he had into it, and he didn't even get to play for his father because Rodgers decided not only to be head coach but also defensive coordinator. And rather than him just stick around and be linebackers, Rayleigh just became the weightlifting coach or whatever was his staff position at West High School. You know, look at this too. You mentioned Carruthers all the time. Carruthers didn't stick around on that new staff. You know what? I love this guy. I bet he's not even alive anymore. But he was my favorite wellness teacher, Barwick. I mean, I loved Coach Barwick.
Mr. Barwick.
We're gonna go boo. Like that's how he talked, man. But he wasn't on the staff anymore either. And him and Wilson were like this. So I'm just saying, I would have loved to have been a part of that sophomore year, man, with them coaches, with Jimbo in that senior class, Sean Eccles. I mean,
Stewart.
Harmon. Come on,
Daniel Stewart was a problem.
Stewart.
Y'all aren't forgetting Big Troy Smith, are you?
Big
Right?
Troy Smith. I mean, Britton Leach. I mean, all them dudes were bad.
Tom Carmichael.
Dude, Avery Graves.
Yep.
Like, dude, we had players.
Colin's brother Tom Carmichael was a senior on that team, if I'm not mistaken. Tom Carmichael too. So yes, that's what I'm saying. I mean, what in the world
on that team?
Dude, we had so many players on that team. But I mean, and you another coach you missed? I don't know if you guys remember this. Coach Orlando?
Yes.
Dude, he was our head coach freshman year.
Dude, everybody loved Orlando. Everybody loved Orlando the way people loved Petco. In the classroom, you know what I mean? They loved those two guys. Those two guys. Yeah.
Freshman year, we had Coach Orlando was our head coach. We had Coach Carruthers. We had Coach Witt. Remember Walt Witt's dad?
Walt's dad. I remember. I saw him. At the state championship game. He didn't see me, but I saw him. They were both at the game. Walt and his dad. Yeah. So,
dude, and we had and Turbo. Terry Pate.
Yeah.
So that was our coaching staff freshman year.
Yeah.
Dude, just put all those characters together in the same room and then have them run a football team.
Yep.
Dude, that was a blast, man. We're playing for Coach Wilson. Coach Mays, dude. Coach Mays was one of the most crazy, he was that guy was awesome.
Oh, he was. Oh,
Coach Mays was intense, dude. He was the most chill dude in the world.
Give us a crazy Coach Mays story.
Dude, crazy Coach Mays story.
I've got one. You go first. I've got one for you. You go first, honestly.
So we were playing Fulton. And we had ran a damn blitz, man. And I came inside, I got chipped. And I mean, I had a kill shot, but I got chipped. Next thing you know, of course, Coach Rayleigh came over, chewed my ass out. I had a half a can of dip splattered on my face.
Made you better.
Next thing you know, Coach Mays walks up to me and goes, "Maples, you ain't worth shit, you know it?" I looked at him and I was like, yeah, neither is Dale Earnhardt. And dude, that was his guy.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, he said, "You better get your ass in there and show me something." Next thing you know, I go out there and I can't remember what the play call was, how I can't even remember half of any of it. But the next thing you know, man, I come off the edge and I got a damn really nice shot on the quarterback, get a sack. I come off the field and Coach Mays, that little dodo bird looking dude, walks over, grabs me by my face mask, and I mean headbutts the living shit out of me. I was seeing stars.
Yeah.
I had on a helmet. This guy, no, that's what I'm talking about. Maybe you are worth something. Oh, man. Dude, those were the guys you wanted to run through a brick wall for.
Yeah.
Coach Cummings lived one street over from me. And I used to ride with him the summer workouts every day. That guy right there, Coach Mays, Coach Rayleigh, those were the guys that I actually came back to play for. It wasn't the other guy, the assistant special teams guru from Florida. That was not him.
No.
Those other guys, those were West football. Those were the guys that if you really had a question, if you really wanted like real words of encouragement, that's the guys you went to because they were real coaches and what their word meant, it actually meant something to you. The other guy, you were just waiting on an insult or something that was just going to piss you off.
That's what I'm saying, man. I was like, what's he going to make fun of me about today? Honestly. My favorite Coach May story was at camp. We were all doing linebacker drills. Terry, senior year, were you playing linebacker or did they move you to safety? I can't remember.
Shit, I played safety, linebacker, and defensive end.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what it was. You were a defensive end, so you weren't a part of this drill. Okay. So we're there at the camp up there, and I don't know what ended up happening. We were doing Oklahoma drills or something, but anyway, somebody like stubs like their knee or like it's like they it wasn't even that they took a hit to the knee, but their knee kind of buckled, so they start kind of like limping off. And Mays is there, and he goes, "Are you all right?" And he's, "Oh yeah." And then so then I go next, and then something happened to where I got my finger jammed or something, and so I was like. And then Mays looks at me, and then the guy behind me, who I think was the Asian guy, who was the foreign exchange student, David Kim, and the poor guy doesn't even have his dang mouthpiece in, and like somebody has to like tell him to put his mouthpiece in, and then dude, he gets absolutely obliterated by either Eric Justice or somebody on the Key Griggs on the other side. And so anyway, so I'm there doing this. The guy who was limping is limping. I think he was one of the underclassmen. And then what? And he goes, "Oh my God. Do I have to drive down to Walmart and buy you all a bunch of tampons, for God's sakes? I mean, goodness gracious. Free Daddy, come here." And he like literally pulls my finger and like just unjams it or whatever. And that like a son of a you know what. And I taped it together and I was fine after that. But like I think that's what did it is like, dude, no, you're not gonna tell me I need tampons. I'm sorry. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
For someone like him to make the insult that had the credibility all day. You mentioned Rayleigh spitting in your face or whatever. He said to me, "Free Daddy, you are the worst linebacker I have ever coached. I had the best one in my son last year. You are the worst," honestly. Said that to me. But Nick Weisfeld said, "Man, after he said that to you, nobody's hit me that hard in that Oklahoma drill. But I was better for it because of it, honestly."
Yeah.
Kids today will go cry and go get somebody fired or whatever like that. I mean, no. And that's the other thing too. The staff at that time, it's pretty sad when, Boggs and Rogers are over here and the rest of them are over here. Let me tell you something. That coaching staff that just coached the second straight state title, they pray together, they eat together, they hang out afterwards together. It's a culture, man. It's a program. And I love being a part of it. I mean, these guys, Saturday mornings, they get together, watch film. I'm telling you, and I wanted to ask you this, Terry, to get back kind of on the discussion. You know, props to you for staying with it. But my question is, what happened with basketball? Did you really just want to focus on football, or were there just too many guys there? Because that's another sport that I never quite understood with the amount of talent in your class, two pair, in our class. And the fact is that you only had Stuart Oakes and Andy Lane as the only two seniors that year. I mean, for our senior year,
And Colin.
I don't think Colin played that senior year.
He didn't play senior year?
He didn't. No, because they only offered when they did the festivities, and I had to cover it for the newspaper. Andy Lane and Stuart Oakes were the only two seniors honored that day with the flowers with their parents and all that crap. So yeah, but yeah, Colin didn't even play that senior year, but he was on the team the others. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so basketball, at West back then. There was one guy, man. That was the guy, that was the head of basketball. And man, we all love Coach Lindsay.
Yeah.
Coach Lindsay, that dude really did. He was my mom's middle school principal. And I mean, the guy's been in the game for a long time. He was a great coach. And, I got asked by his daughter to prom. And I said I would go. And y'all remember Coach Lindsay always used to hang out there in his office in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
So I was in weightlifting. And, half the time in weightlifting with Coach Rayleigh, you went to the damn workout room. The other half, he would throw out a couple of basketballs, go throw in a dip, and read sports page.
That's it.
Well, after it was over, we'd all be sitting there waiting on class change. As soon as you walked into the gym, I was sitting on the set of steps, and maybe I told a joke. I can't remember what the joke was, but apparently Coach Lindsay didn't like it. And he come over and he said, "Listen, anybody that tells jokes like that can never take my daughter to prom. I was like, okay, I'm sorry, coach. Well, I apologized, and well, she didn't understand that he wasn't going to let me take her to prom, so she got mad at him, and then he got even madder at me. And no matter how hard I played, no matter how well I did at tryouts, buddy, my name wasn't getting back on that list.
Oh my goodness!
No way.
Wow.
And that was my own. That was my own. And
Oh yeah.
I mean, I was definitely better at football than basketball. But I mean, we had a lot of good guys that would come out.
Yeah.
And a lot of really good guys in BT. You already know this, man. Like, especially when they would have open gym tryouts, man. Everybody could come watch, and we had some really good dudes that came out there that got cut. And a lot of times, we weren't exactly sure why those dudes got cut. We all had our theories. We all, but I mean, half of those guys make the team. I would have never made it.
Yeah.
But, we had some really good players, and, just like anything else, man, people get, fed up with certain things. They feel like they're not getting the playing time. They're not, they're not getting, positive reinforcement from coaches. They're like, all right, I'll find something else to do,
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
And,
he's a fan of the show. Coach is a fan of the show. I hang out with, I talk with him all the time. I love that guy. He wrote me a letter of recommendation and all that and so forth. And one thing I wanted to say to you guys that I'm sorry I didn't get to eat there one last time or go there one last time. Rest in peace.
Longs.
Rest in peace.
Dude, the Snowmageddon caused me to not get to go.
Me too.
I live out in Oak Ridge, and y'all know when it first hit, you couldn't go anywhere.
Yep. And I'm just across the river from you, Terry. I'm just across the river from you right there in Hardin Valley. We got 9.5, 10 inches of snow over here. So I was iced in. I couldn't go nowhere. So
yeah,
I've got 4-wheel drive, but I mean, from Oak Ridge to Longs, I could have left at 8 in the morning and probably wouldn't have got there in time before they closed.
No. And sadly, Coach Lindsay went with one of his last basketball players that he coached at one of the academy. It was somewhere small. It wasn't.
I seen that on Facebook.
Yeah, and they had to wait like an hour, something he said or something like that, and it was well worth it for her to cook one last meal for them. And I just hated that I missed it. I really am because of the Snowmageddon, like you said.
I wanted one last Thunder Road special, man.
Yeah.
One last Thunder Road special and one last milkshake.
Yeah, I wanted one last chocolate shake. That's what I wanted. So, I mean, it just sucks, man, because, like, I know maybe you guys didn't like this place or whatever, but you know where I used to go after school sometimes, and my mom would go with me, and it was like our place with my little sister, S&S Cafeteria, gone, and it was right down the street. I love me some S&S.
No, and do you remember Shores?
Yes. Yes,
Shores
I do.
Got to be Roosters.
Yes. Yeah, Shores. Yeah, because
wait a minute. Do you guys remember James Food Market?
yes, that's where we used to go before the JV games.
Dude, we had to go up there and get hot dogs, hamburgers. Man, that was the stuff.
Team meal for us, but man, that was like we would all go together. We'd walk after school and we'd go, and that was our pregame meal, especially if it was a home game, because you got to think they had the freshman game before us, so we didn't play until like 7 o'clock at night. We were hungry, and lunch was what, 11:30 noon. So we need, and they weren't going to do no pregame meal for JV or nothing like that. Even though they counted on us to play. So I mean that. I don't know. I think about that, and then you mentioned Shores. That's now Roosters. I used to get my hair cut at the barbershop, Rocky Hill Barbershop, right next door, and they'd have the West and the Beard and like football. Like we have to sell those things to raise money for our crappy uniforms or something. So I mean, shoot.
The crappy uniforms that were 7 years old when we got them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, man.
Crazy how far it's come now to like we have a podcast about high school sports now.
Yeah,
man.
Hey, we evolved. We were rebels with a cause. We didn't let it stop us. I mean,
it's wild. It's wild now that like we're covering the deal.
Hey, wait a minute. We're covering it now. while it's worth covering.
That's true.
Because even if we had this technology back then, man, ain't a damn person would have been covering our team.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, we didn't excite anybody.
No. I mean, you want to know something? I like I said, if Wilson had stayed coaching, maybe it's exciting, But the other thing too, what a bloodbath of a region that was back then. I mean, here's the thing. Think about this, guys. We don't even have the amount of classifications there are now. I think we make the playoffs if it is just 5 teams. But here's the thing. What 5 teams are we with? Do they put us with South Doyle, Carnes, like you mentioned, Heritage, and somebody else? Or are we in the bloodbath with Maryville, Central, Powell, and Halls? Because here's the deal. Some of those West teams that Cummings started to get or what have you, their ceiling, no matter how good they were with Hootie and Nate and all them, the best they could finish is hoping to beat Halls to get that 4th seed, because it was Maryville, it was Zach Helton and Central, and it was Powell, and basically either West or Halls for that 4th spot. And then guess what? Oh, congratulations, you'll play Maryville in the second round, even if you beat the team from Chattanooga. That's how it was back then. Now, West is the beast of the East, and I'd put us up against anybody, okay? These last 2 years, I'd put us up against anybody. But the truth of the matter is that look at the teams that are not even in our classification anymore as the lines have shifted and so forth, the school population and everything like that. West is beating 6A teams, guys, that have 600 more students. It can be girls or boys, whatever, but we're still beating teams that are 6A clearly, and there's no on the cusp or anything like that. So I think about things like that, especially with what we had dudes walking the hallway. You have the right coach in there, you get 80 guys that all buy in and love each other. That's a whole different story. Maybe we're the Maryville back then. I don't know. I mean,
well, it's not
coaching.
It's so much easier nowadays, Kids, like, if you don't like a school, you're not feeling the coaches, it's not like you're stuck there like we were. You can pay, what is it, $50 to transfer? Mm-hmm. And your reason doesn't have to be a significant reason. Back then, if you were going to transfer, I mean, if you had a family member that lived in, Bearden Zone, West Zone, whatever, it wasn't just as simple as giving them your address. You would have to actually go there, and there had to be a reason why, or else they wouldn't grant you a transfer. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, like recruiting, yeah, you find all reasons to get somebody else there. And I mean, if you're at a school where you're like, you look over here and you see a team that just won, 9-10 games, went, deep in the playoffs, and you think you want to be that piece, you can go be that piece. Mm-hmm. Man, there was a lot of guys that see here. It was our junior year. We had a guy that came here from Carnes, okay? And that dude went back to Carnes. Mm-hmm. Okay, he came here from Carnes. You remember Frank Shedrick?
Yeah, Frank Shedrick. Yeah.
Dude, he came here. We had him, Tommy, in the backfield together. Okay, we had weapons galore.
And don't forget, Baby James from Oak Ridge that came over too. Do you remember him?
That was Demetrius. That was Meaty.
Yeah.
So, Meaty, man. Yeah, dude, we had players that came over. Yeah. And that was the thing, is like, those are guys that no matter, I don't give a shit if it's Maryville or wherever, those guys come to your school, they're an impact player immediately.
Big time. And you're going to run the wing tee with them there. Come on.
And then you get them here. And we got Frank. We had Frank for spring practice and spring jamboree. Mm-hmm. And then he straight up, man, that's bad. I think I'm going to go back to Carnes.
Yeah.
And then Meaty, and that dude was lightning in a bottle. He felt like he was covered in Crisco, because you could get 2 hands and a leg on him, and he would still slide right out of your grasp and be gone. Yeah, we had those guys. Yeah. And, to get those guys in here, that would be like, you're landing a huge transfer. You're going to be set. And those dudes, they didn't even make it a season. Frank didn't even make it spring practice. And they're like, hell with this, I'm out. Mm-hmm. Meaty just decided not to play football anymore. Mm-hmm. So I mean, to have those kind of guys come into your doors, come into your school, join your team, and really give you a chance to be something special, and you run them off that quick, I mean, that's got to tell you something, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
And you know what? And let's compare it to this past year. Here you had Coach Cummings' son, who had been at Halls, did well there, was at Oak Ridge. His dad gets a raw deal. He comes to here and he makes the 2 touchdown passes that basically was the difference in that championship game. Look at Britton Carver. He was a state champion last year down in little small time 1A, 2A in Chattanooga or what have you. Comes up to West, and him and CJ Smith are going at it in practice daily, and they're both all state. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
So you can't tell me that they weren't part of the West culture the whole time. They came in, they bought in, they assimilated, and those dudes are right there front and center. We saw them too, Pair, when the team got honored a couple weeks ago. They were right there with the dudes like they've been there the whole 4 years, man, front and center, honestly. And you couldn't say that because our coaches never really did the team building activities or anything like that. I mean, I remember he did some activity with us seniors, and it was like too little, too late, man. We know your juniors are your boys. We're the dirty dozen forgotten or whatever over here. I mean, it's the truth, and you just can't do that. In football camp, that should have been established day one. We're your guys, all of us. It doesn't matter, seniors, juniors. We are one, and let's roll. Let's go. Let's go to war against these teams because they're going to war and coming at us. They are. So
Yeah, hey, you forgot about the team building activity where we went and moved all of his stuff out of their apartment into their new house.
Oh, that was nice. I forgot about that. Yeah,
That
that's
was
right.
lovely.
It was.
Mm.
What we put up with, I don't know. I just
But
can't.
they've got it great now, man. It's
They
a
do
place where you want to be. And another thing too, this is one thing I was thinking. Is back then you had coaches that really weren't trying to put you out there, man. They weren't trying to get your name out there, get you seen by schools. In fact, there was one in particular that tried to hide that somebody was getting some great, letters like from really great places.
Mm-hmm.
And they thought that the smart thing to do was to keep letters, keep stuff like that away because it was going to make the player get a big head and think that they were too good. Instead of, man, this dude's earned this. Let him go ahead and get his shine. And that gives you something to build for, to play harder. And like coaches that are here now, Coach Brown and the entire staff, man, those guys are always trying to put their guys up, trying to get them shine, let them get their chance.
Mm-hmm. And they send the tape. They have the tape. I mean, when I go Saturday mornings with Coach and we have coffee and we watch the game film, I mean, guys, they have camera angles from the goalpost, from the top of the press box. They even asked me some things. What was the stats like? I pull up the stats and I go, such and such had 10 tackles, seven solo, 3 assisted, and so okay. And so they're writing down. I mean, it is a machine now. To be honest with you, it is a machine. And again, they're not getting paid any more than what it was back then. It's a stipend. It's not that glorious. You really got to do it for the love of the game and each other and the support of the community and the parents from senior to freshman class. I mean, do you know that they do that Thanksgiving breakfast when they've gotten to do this Thanksgiving breakfast the last 3 years, and the underclassmen's dads literally serve the team breakfast. They go and have their practice to get ready for the semifinal game, and they're cleaning up dead end barbecue. I mean, that takes a lot to do that on Thanksgiving morning when most people just put the bird in the oven and are just half asleep watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade or whatever's on TV. You know what I mean? Type of a thing.
Yeah.
Or watching basketball in the in the Bahamas or whatever. So, but I'm just saying that where the program is now, it really is One West. It's not just a slogan. And the one thing I was going to ask you, Terry, and Two Pair, you mentioned it at the beginning of the show. There's some job openings still open. Now, I know that the winter holidays may have affected some things, but the Carter coach after 4 years, and Carter's had a couple of nice seasons. They've gone to the playoffs and in 4A, and that coach just took a head coaching job down in Georgia where a lot of talent is. And so he's leaving after 4 years. So everything that's happening at Carter, they're about to take a step back. Central, we remember the Central teams with DeMarcus Dixon and Zach Helton and all that. And, they've been in a little bit of an influx since Rozier left with his wife to move up to the Northeast when she took that big job, and he's coaching football up there. And they were back-to-back state champions. They looked like they were the power, and look how quickly in 4 years they've slid, and they're still looking for the guy right now. And then I don't want to rip this school because I'm right down the street from it. They have fantabulous facilities. Fantabulous. I'm making up words now. But the truth of it is that it's like where all careers go to die at Hardin Valley. Like they're good in all these other sports. You can't find me 85 able-bodied young men with those facilities, artificial turf, state-of-the-art weight room to come out and bust heads out of 2,200 kids that are there, and it's still growing. They had to do a community outreach to stop the farms and the forests from getting torn down for more neighborhoods to come. And you mean to tell me you can't win at that school? With 22,000 kids to choose from? I know there's half girls, half boys, but out of 1,000 guys, you should be able to find 100 or 85 players, honestly. So it's unbelievable. But those 3 positions are open. Cummings is now the head coach at Lenoir City. So, what's your all's thoughts about these other teams? Realistically. So
I would have thought the Carter job would have got filled.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have thought that I would have got filled pretty quick. There hadn't been any movement on that one.
No.
Central, Central, we all know is not the Central of what it once was, but losing their coach because, what I want to say, they when they went back to back, was that 18
and 19 right before COVID? Very good memory. Yep. And they were dominant. Honestly, realistically, that second team that went back to back was kind of like our West team. They lost all the fun guys from 2018, and they won it with defense and intensity and did it. They went back to back. And I remember me and Michael Lynn went to that game thinking, oh, West has already beaten Powell. This should be an easy one, and West is going to go and get a second state title. No, it was a 10-0, cold as anything day after Thanksgiving. And they won 10-0 and then went on to beat the crap out of Summit to win back-to-back, state championships. And I was just like, wow, West really let one off the hook here. They really did. And, they were tough defensively, and they did what they needed to win back-to-back, just like this West team did. So, yeah, honestly.
With Central, you've always got alumni. Football is deep with Central, man. All the great players they've had. And my nephew plays for Central. And I'm going to tell you, man, it ain't about the Jimmies and Joes. It's about the X's and O's. They've got athletes there. You're never, ever going to find a time where Central doesn't have athletes. That y'all know that for a fact. I think they're going to have to pull in a coach, man, somebody that's proven, but somebody that, somebody that has a real name, and get these guys in the right spots. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of athletes on that team, man, and some younger guys too. And if you don't bring in a good coach, then, just like how it is nowadays, they're just going to go somewhere else. Yep. They're going to find another team right down the road, find somewhere where they can go jump on and get a ring, somewhere where they're going to get some shine. And Central, man, for as good as they always were, to see them there now almost kind of feels like Maryville. You've been so used to them being up there on the top of the mountain, and they've just started to slide. And then, you think, well, every team's got a bad year here and there, but then they slide even more, and you're just like, wait a minute, something's got to be off. And when you've got a long tradition like they've got, and then the next thing you know, it just kind of like slides right off the cliff. When you constantly got the players, that tells you something. You've got a coaching problem. You've got somebody that guys don't want to fight for anymore. So that's a job that I swear, man, somebody's got to take that job that's ready for it. There's a lot of pressure with that job.
I'm gonna say a name real quick for that job, but you touched on something, and two pair, I want you in on this too, because you and me talked privately about it off screen, and it's a great transition, Terry. So thank you for that. And you indirectly didn't even know you were going to do it, but a name that I'm going to drop right now, Kevin Lane, defensive coordinator for West for our state championship runner-up and our state title teams, is a central guy, played there, is Joel Helton extended, has great rapport with kids, I mean, and parents. And right now is the assistant head coach with Josh Jones at Bearden. And I don't know if there's any movement with there. I mean, that's going to be a tough decision for him because I know he's bonded with these kids at Bearden and they've got a great shot at state this year. Pains me as a West Rebel to say it, but I will give props where props is due. They've got a lot of talent coming back. And realistically, like you mentioned, Maryville taking a step back. Boo Carter and all them Bradley Central fun guys, they are not there no more. So realistically, if Bearden can get by mighty Oakland, I give them as good of a shot against anybody on the west side of the state or what have you. And if Bearden's not there in that semifinal, there's a problem. There's a problem. But that being said, it's a lot to give that up to go back home. And you're going to have to, you have the athletes, but you're going to have to get people to buy in. He can do it. But again, you're also in the region with Halls, who's way better now. Heritage has shown improvement. And then, of course, you've got Powell and West, your last three state champions. I mean, honestly. And realistically are in it every year. So it's a hell of a job. It's going to be a hell of a task to take on. But you mentioned Maryville and their slide back. In between all the snow and everything that happened, Snowmageddon, the TSSAA voted last week, and it passed that the numbers, when they take the census at the beginning of this school year coming up, they will announce the numbers in November, maybe late October, early November, right during the heart of the playoffs. And they will announce the enrollments of all the schools. The teams have until, I believe, the end of the year or the school administrators, everybody in general, whoever makes those decisions, depending on where your population of school fits, where you're going to be. Class 1, Class 2, Class 3. If you're a private school that wants to move up and down or wants to try to maybe play in the public school because you can't compete in the private school, I think that's on the table as well. Where the vote has changed is when you make that decision, you're locked in for 2 years. The vote now says you're locked in for 4 years. Good. And that is a lot different. Okay. Mm-hmm. So my question to you two, knowing your stuff when it comes to basketball, when it comes to football, does Maryville stay in 6A? Because they're technically a 5A school. Do they want to take their chances against the Powells and the Wests as opposed to competing where it feels like it ends against Oakland or Bearden now? That's where it's really getting to for them. And I don't know if they recover. They'll always have the community behind them, but I don't think those players are leaving William Blount and Alcoa or Heritage anymore to go to Maryville. That's all I'm throwing out there. They don't have the support of the administration they used to at that school. Not like West. So
for Maryville, man, it'll be something, do they want to get back on track? Do they think they can get back to where they were? Are they any good in basketball, BT?
Slightly, they've been pretty good. Let me pull up what they've got going on.
I know they lost by 1 point to Alcoa, Terry. I know that they lost. They beat Bearden and Hardin Valley, and they were kind of on like a 3-game winning streak going into this Snowmageddon, but they've not played any basketball either. They've been stuck at home. So we'll see what they're all about.
And do we know anything about like Maryville when it comes to baseball?
I don't know. They used to be. I don't think so. No.
Because Maryville's one of them schools that as soon as you say it, you think football.
Yeah.
And I mean, their decision will be based on their football program. Do you have to resort and drop him back down to 5A just so that you can try to start competing again and get some more rings? Or, are you going to be too proud because, we're Maryville and stay in 6A and continue to slide?
Maryville is 14-5.
Ooh. What is West right now?
9-4.
9-4. But that's after that skid. I can tell you right now, man, I hope some of these dudes had a nice little run, did a little bit of conditioning, something instead of just sitting at home on the Xbox and everything through a snowmageddon just to play that many games in a week. Ooh, boy.
Yeah. And that's what I'm going to ask you guys. I mean, I know they're young and, and all that and so forth, but you're going to have tired legs, right? Two pair. I mean, that's a lot of basketball. And if coach don't do the rotation, like we talked about, Terry, one thing that we've discussed is they come out in the first half, they play great. It's the halftime adjustments that these two coaches from Farragut and Alcoa, the third quarter was the difference. And granted, I'll give Reese getting hurt really changed the complexity. I don't know what we're going to get from him the rest of the season, because going into the Christmas break, that kid was like really asserting himself with the names of the Kimbers at Fulton and Shane Sherry over at Austin East. He really was playing that good. And then that ball just rolled right under him. I thought it was a foul. Ref called it a travel. He kind of like tweaked his knee or his ankle, one of the two things. He hadn't been the same player since. Didn't even play the rest of that Alcoa game. So, yeah, I mean,
maybe this time gives him some time to heal up.
That's what I'm
hoping. But, when you haven't played in that long, and the next thing you're not just coming back like, all right, we're going to come back with spring practice. Dude, you're going straight into the fire. You're going right back to, hard games, man, after that long of a layoff. And I mean, one right after another. Dudes are going to be cramping. Dudes are going to be tired. Man, it's going to be rough, dude. This right here is where you got to dig deep and see who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, two pair. What if you were to predict with this team's potential, let's say we get Dane back, because that's been a loss too, Terry. He got hurt in the Austin East game before the Christmas tournament. It was a wrist or a hand. He's another tall guy off the bench. He's a senior. They have not had him available for the Alcoa and the Farragut games. I don't make excuses. You roll with who you got, and there's plenty of depth on there. But to have a senior and height like that is ginormous, especially for depth purposes when you do have 8 games coming up in the next 13 days. So,
yeah, I mean, Beard and Farragut and Maryville, that's a stretch for anybody right now. And being that the last time we seen West was on January the 9th, the last time West won was December the 21st. Like, we won a game in 2023 yet.
yeah.
So, I mean, hopefully they come out and, play with space and pace and space. The West team that we know of, like they've been kind of stagnant, but this snowmageddon kind of derailed a lot of things. So I'm kind of glad we really got to discuss on Reese and that injury and in the rotations. We got to be able to get Garrett Birch and Jack Dupree on the court. Like, got to be hitting shots. Jalen Hill just needs to control the tempo, and we just got to find ways to get ball inside to Kevin, Jack, and Devin Martin. Devin Martin is one of the best players in the city, and we got to get him the rock.
I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm waiting for that light bulb to go on for Jalen, where it's like the aha moment and the game slows down for him and for Devin. And if those juniors realize how damn good they are, do you want to know something, Terry? There was something I wanted to ask you because you coached those guys. This junior class, I liken to the Latham guys and these seniors that just graduated and so forth. They were good, But I think that something happened after that Powell game with Walter Nolan and everything, that they came back as seniors and did something. Now, I want to do something this year. I think this team can do something this year. But I guess my question is, how does that happen, that aha moment for a player of that magnitude? You are good, but it's like, wait a minute, why am I even playing at this guy's level? I'm better than him. I mean, we're all better than them. And it's like you got to like realize it and live it. And it's not arrogant, it's almost confidence. It's like, confidence on the court or on the field. I'm going to beat you and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, man. Like, there's a guy, Lil Wayne, who once said, "Confidence is a stain you can't wipe off." And there's guys that have it, and they've got the talent, they can do it all. They just they don't believe in themselves enough. And then you have that one play, that one game that just like breaks you out and lets you know, man, I do got this. And, no matter who you are, you go through slumps, but I mean, when you've really got it and you're willing to like just you miss a couple of shots, that's okay, do everything else right, fight for your team, it clicks, man. And when it does, it makes everybody around you so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Amen. Amen. Tupper, what do you got, man? Honestly, so do you got more questions for our guests? And Terry, I can't thank you enough for being on, man. It means a lot. You're the first,
Man, to
so,
get to hang out with you dudes and shoot sports, man, I mean, come on, man.
yeah.
It don't get no better than that.
Yeah. Terry, this show is Rebels with a Cause and so forth, and the one thing that me and Two Pair have stressed to the athletes in any sport, no matter what you played, man, woman, whatever, talk about your life after football. I mean, you're married now, you got kids, and, what are you doing now, man, honestly, to be that continued rebel with a cause? Because it doesn't just stop, when you play that last down or you shoot that last basket or you walk across the stage at Thompson Bowling Arena. Talk to us. What's going on now with you, man? So
I just started my first company, man. First of the year, on the level, construction, remodeling. It was one of them things, man, that like, some people right after school, they hit the ground running. Some people, you got to go through your ups and downs, man. And I went through my ups, my downs, and man, came out better, stronger than ever. And I mean, dude, life's good. Life's good. It's what you make it, and it's how hard you hit the ground and how hard you get back up. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of guys that, really have it in their head that sports is it. It's going to take you there, and you gotta understand it's just not. It's not. Some people it will, but you gotta have another plan ready, man, and be ready to give it everything you've got.
And, this is also technically a sport. It's competitive. I used to remember seeing it bright and early on ESPN too. You do a little bit of fishing as well, and you catch some monsters and whoppers that I didn't think were in our lakes, but kind of makes me wonder what I'm swimming in when I'm swimming in those lakes. But talk to us about that, man. You really enjoy the fishing, and like I said, you catch some whoppers out there, honestly. So
I enjoy fishing, man. I love it, dude. And it's one of them things where you can get out there and all the troubles, everything that you're going through, man, it's just gone. It's just you, it's just the water, it's the fish. And some of the best trips you go on, you don't catch anything, man. You catch just that peace. That's all you need. But whenever I get a chance to go fishing, man, absolutely, dude. Anybody that wants to do some catfishing, man, holler at me. I'm down. I even get my wife out every now and then.
hey, that's a good woman right there.
Like, dang, Terry, how did you catch this fit? Like, I be seeing it now. Terry, do you remember when we went to go see Romeo Must Die and then went to Stephen Bell's house to go play basketball?
Yes.
That's the first time I ever seen you hoop.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know you could hoop like that. Like I was in shock because Bryce talked so much noise.
Dude, that guy was a straight up mess, man.
I love it.
Are we talking about Hey You Guys? Is that who we're talking about? Is that who we're talking about? Sloth from the Goonies? Is that who we're talking about? So wait a
That is
minute.
exactly who we were talking about.
Let me tell you something about that guy. Do you know that was the first guy that was like my quote unquote acquaintance when I walked through West? We happened to have biology together. And then here's Brian Tate, little freshman guy walking through or whatever like that, minding his own business. And he goes, "You see that guy over there?" I go, "Yeah, he's one of my kids." He said it just like that. And then Two Pair goes right back at him and hears it and says, "Man, what's wrong with you, man? You look like the guy from the Goonies. Hey, you guys!" And it like just is so loud in the hallway. I've never laughed so hard at something before. And Solomon didn't know what to do. I mean, he literally just swallowed his tongue.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh,
but everybody was one of his kids. Like he'd walk around, "That's one of my kids. That's one of my kids." And I'm like, "Where did you get this from?" Like, I mean, I knew I was
dude.
in a different school than I was at Bearden anymore. I'll tell you that much. So,
Oh, that's hilarious, man.
Oh my God.
oh my goodness, Bryce.
Oh, my
Baby
phone.
Stewie.
That's making my phone about to die. Oh my.
Shoot. One other thing I wanted to ask you, Terry. What was your favorite memory playing football? What like he talked about the one that rocked you and hitting, and what's your favorite memory in football? Either team oriented or it doesn't have to be necessarily football. Maybe it's a memory with some of the guys. What's your recollection or what have you? So
Man. Well, I mean, senior year beating Bearden,
that was
you know, dude, I had 3.5 sacks that game, man. We played out of our mind, and actually getting a real win against them was huge.
yeah, no
And
shit.
the after game stuff was pretty fun for that too, man.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. That was a fun night. No, do you remember? You remember that there was even talk about us trying to tear down their goalposts after the game or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was, I mean, there was talk about it, and I still remember that. Like some of their guys said to me, "Is like you only won because Andy didn't play," and I'm like, "Dude, I don't want to hear that, dude. Andy Crook." Really? The only reason Andy Crook had a great junior year is because everybody had to focus on Chris Ernst, honestly. Because when Crook did play, they didn't even win but one other game, and that was Carnes. Everybody.
Dude, I would have sacked his ass 3.5 times too, maybe 4.5.
They had no O-line. They no way. No.
Do you remember there was talk of somebody that was going to go burn 14-0 in their field?
Yeah. There was.
Dude, that was serious. People didn't understand that. They always thought it was Bearden and Farragut that was the rivals. Nah, dude, it was Bearden and West.
Let me just tell you this about that. That's the truth. Amen to you on that. Because here's the deal. The people that go to West Valley Middle School care about the Farragut Bearden thing, because that's where that school splits. Bearden Middle, that is a completely different story. I mean, because half go to West, half go to Bearden. And you can't tell me that, yes, Bearden would love to brag against Farragut, but no disrespect to Farragut. You have one state title, we have three. And right now, we're big brother. Yes, you lead the all-time series, if you want to go back to the 50s and all that. But recently, I mean, it ain't even close. We've won 5 in a row. I mean, and they'll probably. I mean, I'll give it to them. If they don't win it this year against us, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep it going. That's the truth. I don't care if that goes to Bearden, Thompson Bowling Arena, Neyland Stadium, West High School. We'll roll you. But this year, you finally have the team to beat us. But with our coaching staff, with our players themselves, I think the sky's the limit.
We reload, we don't rebuild.
Exactly. And that's why it's so disrespectful with what 5-star trucks put there. You're not even going to put it in the preseason poll as one of your top two when we're a 2-time champion. And they're like, who's going to play quarterback? We'll see. Who's going to play running back? We'll see. But I'm going to tell you this. I've watched practice. And we got plenty of young kids that want to prove themselves and tell their own. They really do.
And I wouldn't be too surprised if maybe there's a couple of guys that land on this roster that aren't on it yet.
Yep.
Guys that come in and make a lot of noise right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, so that's where it's at. I mean, I'm going to be very interested to see where these teams do this year, all of them, and then what they decide when it comes to, what classification you want to be in, and you're going to be there for 4 years, and it's really going to be an interesting landscape for high school football around here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I think I may have lost Terry. Yep, there he is. But yeah, I think that we've pretty much covered it. Real quick, let's do some predictions. Stu Fair, I want you on this too. Who do you guys got in the NFC Championship and AFC Championship this Sunday?
Looks like it might be Baltimore and San Francisco. That's what the script is supposed to say.
Amen.
But if the Lions got to the Super Bowl, man, you know how crazy Vegas odds would be.
Yeah.
For that, like just thinking about that. But man, this Super Bowl is gonna be crazy. Before we go, I gotta give props to Dalton Connect. Terry Maples was comparing Dalton Connect to an Andre Karolinko, and I Terry was the first person to say that. I was like, it could be like more Brent Berry, Bob Seward type. I'm gonna say these numbers real quick for y'all. Mississippi State game, he has 28. UGA game, he has 36. Then against Florida, he has 39. Alabama, he has 25. So he put up some really, really big numbers this week.
And can I throw something out there, man? For that Georgia game, he literally put the team on his back and would not let them lose. I thought it was bad. That kid from Knoxville was killing us, and he came out of nowhere and just said,
shout out to Blue.
You're not
Shout out
going
to
to
Blue Cane.
We're winning.
Yeah, shout out to Blue Cane. Played for B Mays Elite in that program out of Knoxville and at Georgia hooping, doing his thing. But yeah, Dalton Connect is we gotta give him props. That's my props of the week. My props of the week gotta go to Dalton Connect of the University of Tennessee, really hooping.
And another cool thing about that guy is he came here to be the offensive punch that this team's needed. A real true go-to scorer. And in the time that he's been here under Rick Barnes, his defense has just grown so much. And this dude is shooting up draft boards quick.
Wow.
At 20, what is he, 24? Is he 24?
He was in the first round when I seen it like early.
Yeah, it was like 22nd.
Mm-hmm. But that's like the first mock draft. Like he's put up numbers in SEC play, even on the road. I think the only game he really didn't have his best game was probably the Mississippi game, and they still were able to win convincingly, actually, like 90-64.
Oh yeah,
this is the deepest UT team I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The guys that their rotation is 90.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got JP Estrella coming in as a true freshman and not just, getting on the floor, but playing like some real minutes. That's pretty huge for us, man. Especially come March.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I watched that Miami Heartbreaker the other day, too.
I watched the Bama game, and they beat the hell out of them. That wasn't even close. They got Vanderbilt this week. Is Vanderbilt going to do it? Because traditionally they've had some pain in the ass. Like
Vanderbilt basketball?
Yeah.
They lost like 5 straight.
Oh, really? Yeah, I just go back to that time where it seems like every time we are like number one or we have a big game, they always play out of their minds and beat UT, and I hope that's the case this year. You know what I mean? It's just one of those.
And it breaks my heart, man, because Stackhouse might get fired. That was my favorite NBA player of all time.
Oh, well.
Dude, Stackhouse was a beast.
Stackhouse was a beast, though.
Yeah, he was.
And dude, he didn't back down from nobody. And I don't understand, man.
I
Like,
feel sorry what's going on in Vanderbilt, though. They don't have the guys. They're like 5-13.
No, they had that one nice team where the guys got drafted in the NBA draft, and Darius Garland, I think, was there, and that was it. Yeah, that was it. So.
They always used to have that damn. They always used to have a European big man that could stretch the floor, hit some threes, and now it just seems like they're so guard heavy, and what they get down low isn't really high quality for SEC, man.
Yeah.
So they should lost.
They should win.
They've
Well,
lost.
I mean, if they can continue this and get better going into February, going into March. I mean, they're a matchup nightmare, especially the way they play defense. And if the offense doesn't match the defense like it's doing now, that's a hard out. It's a hard out.
Oh yeah.
So,
Any team that plays defense like Tennessee is a hard out.
yeah.
But
And that's
all
the
it
thing.
takes is, one player to go cold, and the offensive end is just rough.
Yeah. I mean, and I look at the teams on the landscape. There's not a dominant team. Everybody lost. In the year or a game. And it's really like who gets hot like Connecticut did last year. You win, you get a nice bracket, some upsets happen, and then you get gift wrapped and really clear Final Four and kill everybody.
Yeah, man. It's going to be a good SEC tournament this year, dude. The SEC is strong.
It is. I mean, I watched South Carolina beat the hell out of Kentucky.
And that new dude, the 7'2" guy, the Kentucky just got eligible. Man, his first game, what was it? It was like 13 points in 11 minutes. He had like 7 rebounds, 4 blocks. Man, that's dangerous.
That is.
But South Carolina's tough.
Yeah. They always play Tennessee tough. I always feel like that. So I don't know. Tennessee's gonna get a shot. You know what I mean? Like they see that number 5 or number 4 ranking of them, they're gonna get every shot. Honestly. But better than being nobody. Any predictions for Friday? I think that Wes's men's basketball team gets on the right track. I think we find a way to get it together. By the way, that's what my guess is.
I think that's a game where they bounce back. I want to see how they come out that first half to see how they are on the road, like how they bounce back.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for. So, yeah. All right. Well, there you go. You think West gets it done? Get the revenge after that inexplainable loss 10 days ago.
West gets a really late Christmas present. They're going to get their first win of the year. And I really think it's going to build their confidence up to get back on the right track like they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think you're right. Yeah. Man.
I think so too.
I want to see it.
Be trying.
I want to see it.
Guys getting healthy?
Yeah. We'll see.
At the right time.
They beat that Farragut game. They win that Farragut game on Friday. All 4 games next week are at West. And what we talked about is not dependent on court. These last 2 games,
1 and 3
dependent on court next week, and win all 4 of those games. Maribel, William Blunt, Hardin Valley, and then the big match next Saturday at West against Beard. Because Beard's going to want some revenge after we beat them at the dog pound in December. So that's going to be a big one. Wednesday, hopefully we're talking about 3 victories, getting ready for this Hardin Valley game. That's what we're really going to reach for next episode. And Terry, I can't thank you enough for taking the time and being on the show tonight. And I hope that you'll be back for that panel discussion of great football players and also the great football teams of West Louisville and so forth. So bring whatever things you remember. And shout out to your brother, too. I'd love to have him on talk about some stuff from the championship he played on the OG. So, yeah. For sure.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it was an honor to be on, man. Hang out, shoot some sports with you guys.
Thank you, man. We appreciate you, man.
Relive some old days.
Yep. Yeah. And listen, can I just tell you this? I'll be honest with you. If the certain person who just discussed would love to have a discussion one-on-one, in terms of just looking at it, I would be more than happy to have him on. I'm not afraid of him. I'm not. I'm not that 16, 17-year-old guy anymore. I'm over it. I really am. It may not look like it, but I'm over it. But at the same time, I, on my part, can this person say the same. That's all. Because when you coach kids, it ain't about you. It's about them. And how you treat them, how you talk to them. That could be defined in their lives. Some are stronger mentally than others. And we've lost brothers along the way. And again, I know it's life, but at the same time, you gotta be weary of how you talk to people. And like I said, I felt we were all disrespect back then. I wouldn't have put kids like that. Some you can push, but there's a line. And also, hype these kids up, make them believe they're great because it's infectious. Winning is infectious. And that's what you're doing now that you didn't 20 years ago. Yep. Or 24 years ago was.
Words can build a team or they can break a team.
That's exactly right. Amen. Pair, you got anything else, brother?
No, man. I think we can wrap it up, man.
We can, man. Well, listen, we finish every show with the W going on because it's all about win. And West runs this thing.
It's all about the
Nobody
always.
So, yeah. But love you guys. Shout out to the show. And Carrie, if you talk to anybody about this, you can tell them how painless this experience was, how fun it was, so that way they can get on. Because I'm trying to get B-Bell on here. I haven't heard from him and a couple of other guys. And I'm just like, hey, give me your email. We'll give you the time.
Okay. Yeah, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Awesome.
BT?
Great talking to you. Yes, sir.
Love y'all, man.
Love you guys.
Go
Rebels.
Always.